Hey guys, this is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks on YouTube. This is episode 178. Um, a lot of stuff has gone on recently on this episode. I want to talk about a few comedy shows I've been to. There was a show out in Mira Mesa called District 6. It was a musical concert slash comedy show all in one. Um, District 6 was actually under a few names before, but in this particular case, um, we used to be called Ancient Bamboo, and I remember it used to be like I think it was like a Z pizza place or something. It used to be like an Indian pizza place. Um, so after all that, it then became, I believe, District 6. And I'm glad that they actually got a comedy show out there with a musical performance. And I'm glad it's actually working out. So the show is every Wednesday night. And if you ever want to get some music and comedy two in one, this is the combo show for you. You got some TVs to look at some sports if you want to watch sports while you're listening to the comedy show and the concert. Also, um, the musical guest for this one was actually the one who runs the whole thing, the show, Chelsea Ray. First time hearing her perform. She's great on the guitar, great voice. She had quite a few songs she did to perform in front of us people in the area at the patio of the District 6. And um, she did pretty well. Music's pretty good. There's probably two songs that really kind of stood out to me. One of them was called Unholy. Um, that was a good song. The second song that she did play, I don't remember the name of it, but it was really good because it's just the tune was not too fast. It was one of those songs that you perform that when you slow it down, you actually get a little more invested in it because now that you're in tune with the music at the pace it was playing, and all of a sudden I I basically get very invested in what the music is, much as much as the what the lyrics were. But I'm more of a musical tune guy, so I'm listening more to the music than I am the lyric. But because it's slowed down enough that I can actually listen to the lyric too. So I mean, I've always preferred music over lyrics, but when you put them together, sometimes you can't help but just um, listen along. So the comedy portion was provided by Mimi Harris, and I remember Mimi Harris was actually doing some crowd work. Um, she did get to introduce kids to some foul language. I guess at some point they were going to learn. Um, but yeah, let's start with Mimi Harris. She had some good jokes. Did talk about Cox, the I guess it's like the internet brand Cox. Um, she did um, tell us that she was from Boston, but then she wore a New York jacket, so she might get disowned apparently. Um, I would say the crowd that was there was kind of into it. Um, she did the best she could with it, so I would say that Mimi Harris was 7.75 for um, for their comedy performance. Chelsea Ray, um, as great as she played, I wanted to say that she had some interesting moments while she played. There was an old man that she took her tip jar and actually went around the entire establishment collecting tips for her. That was kind of sweet. Um, I would say um, I would say Chelsea Ray, performance wise, I would say it was an 8.6 out of 10. Um, I can't wait to see more comedy and music together like that. So let's see what happens in the upcoming Wednesdays. Um, so after the show, I actually ended up going and try to catch the second half of the Imperial Steakhouse show run by Karla Amador. Um, that one, um, I was able to go in for the beginning of Erel's set. He talked about how he had um, toured with Prince. That was pretty cool. Um, some of the stuff that he talked about was funny. Some took a little bit of time, but I would say he was overall a 8, 8.4. Yeah. Um, 8.4. There was another guy that came up, Byron Stamps. Um, what I remember from his was that his daughter likes to date, I guess, mixed racial guys, and she is mixed race as well. But the thing about her daughter is that her daughter always seems to collect some clothing item from every single ex-boyfriend, and so she collected pants, jackets, shirts, shoes. So apparently, every single time after a while that she breaks up with the guy, she has a complete outfit for her dad, um, Erel. No, not Erel. Byron Stamps. So that was kind of funny. Some people kind of laughed at that. That after so many breakups, to see her daughter go through that, at least he got outfits out of it, complete outfits. So that was kind of cool. Um, I would say Byron was he was a 8.5 out of 10. Really good guy. Um, I believe we also had um, Ben Koshola. Um, he used to be a MMA fighter, 9-1. He um, he doesn't wrestle anymore or fight anymore because of COVID. So he never got back into it once COVID happened and when COVID was um, had died down. He never went back into it. So um, the funny thing I remember from his was that he talked about his 9 victories and his 1 loss. He he somehow mentioned that the 1 loss um, means a lot to him because he couldn't beat a guy because it outweighs the 9 victories of him beating up women. So it made me think of something else, and it got funny because I was thinking one thing, but he really turned it around and said something else to completely change it. So that was pretty funny, and it is pushing the envelope when you do talk about beating up women, but it's out of a joke. So that was pretty funny though. Um, so then Koshaba, I would say was it 8.3 out of 10. So uh, okay. Then I believe we had um, Randy Villarba. And of course, he always brings dark jokes to the stage. And I have seen him at the Imperial Steakhouse showcase before. So he does have his zingers when it comes to abortion jokes and side boob. So um, I would say he was about an 8.3 out of 10 for his comedy. So
I did manage to witness my first ever Zoom comedy show. Melissa Weisman produced the show on Zoom, and I was more than happy to oblige. The headliner was Steven Briggs. I've seen him before. Uh, she also had this one guy who said he worked in, I think, either retail or the food industry, cooking food. Um, but throughout his entire set, um, I got the feeling that it was very staticky, and it was kind of hard to hear him tell his jokes because apparently the microphone wasn't working on the platform. So it always seems to like have that little crackling noise, and it would cut out. And his all of his jokes, his convo seems to be very gargled up. So um, so um, um, so I didn't feel like with all the technical difficulties that this guy actually had much like fanfare. I think it just ends up being quite flat. Um, Anywho, um, um, so with him not being able to really articulate through the microphone that he had, and it didn't come off so well on the other end where we are, it just I mean, I suppose it never works out. um, So with all the interruptions and the kind of like the mic was not working on um, so with all the interruptions with this guy's comedy set, I gotta say he was more of a 6.5 out of 10. Um, just mostly talked about his retail job that he had before or currently have. Um, um, let's see. Yeah, I would say 6.5 for um, for that one comic about working in retail or in food. Um, the I believe the next person that went up was Brian Morrow. Guy got me to show my bald head, halfway bald head, so I'm basically losing my hair, but it will make people kind of like very the next comic was a guy by the name of Brian Morrow, and guy's pretty funny. He started off by talking about hair, and I actually ended up doing some volunteer of my work, my answers, and I showcased my bald head, of the bald head portion of my head, and I think Brian had said, "Yeah, that's enough of your bald head. You're thin enough hair." So um, that was cool. I actually think I remember that Brian Morrow actually does a podcast with Jay Washington. So it's kind of cool that they both talk about like fighting, wrestling. So one day I might join their little roundtable. And then the jokes that he told, pretty funny. People online were pretty much laughing. I would say um, I would say it was an 8.5. 8.5 out of 10. Then we had Melissa Weisman go up. She kind of had a few new jokes. Majority was technically her old stuff. So she was able to throw some new stuff in. So yeah. Um, um, yeah, Brian Morrow is an 8.5. So Melissa Weisman, I believe, was next, and she did talk about her Korea joke. She did get to talk about like dating guys, but Pearl is part of the package. Um, um, let's see. Yeah, Melissa did talk about um, I think it was like dating her and how guys are turned off with the dog sleeping in the bed with them and stuff. And then she talked about showers, did not take a shower, so she's dirtier than a dog. So, um, she did some crowd work. Did get to do some crowd work on a Zoom call, so she kind of got to know a little bit more about the people that came. So, I would say overall, Melissa Weisman was an 8.4 out of 10. So, hmm. Um, I would say that Melissa had a really good time doing her crowd work, and I would say most of the jokes did hit with the Zoom crowd, but then the Zoom crowd, it's a little different from a live crowd, but she still got some good bits of laughs in her set. So, um, I would say that Melissa was a 8.5 out of 10. And then the main person that came up, I guess it was the headliner, was Steven Briggs. He did 99% pretty much all crowd work in this set. He got to talk to me and this one other guy for bulk part. I guess apparently there were 5 minutes after I'm talking to the group, and then Melissa, Steven Briggs. I mean, Steven Briggs pretty much. I think he may have told a few jokes, but I don't remember any of them because a lot of times we were just having a hilarious moment. Me volunteering my answers while Steven Briggs was on stage. So I remember that. So I would say Steven Briggs, as funny as he is, I would say he was an 8.6 out of 10. So, overall, a decent Zoom show. Now, granted, it is kind of hard to follow some of these comics sometimes because if you don't really know what time, then it's going to end up very chaotic. So, yeah, Steven Briggs, yeah, I would say he was an 8.6 for the crowd work material and barely any jokes that I can remember. And, but yeah, overall, it was a good show. Zoom can be very convenient, but also it does expose a few things. So, um, and then I guess the last show I'm going to talk about is the I believe it was it May 31st, Friday. So I got to see Comedy Heights. Melissa was on it. Got to run into Rachel Lloyd and Victor Paz, who have been running the show because Al Gabby is on his vacation, his honeymoon with his wife. He just got married recently, so good for him. Um, um, Victor Paz did go up first after I did get a coffee. I got a special copy. I don't know, it's called like a Uriba type tea. And um, um, Victor Paz did bring up some other comics. One, I think his name was Pedro Young. Funny guy. Talked about stuff that happens when he's paying for dinner. So yeah, he was talking about that. He did have a knockdown of wait, what looks like Drew. Oh. So what was his name? Pedro Young. So guy was mostly funny during his set. Kind of surprised a lot of people actually too, including myself. And then I would say Pedro was already like 8.5 out of 10 for being funny and warming up the crowd along with this other lady. Then Victor Paz got on stage, told a few jokes. So that was pretty interesting. I would say Pedro Young. For me to, I guess, to kind of finally remember seeing him. Yeah. Victor Paz. Yeah, he told a few jokes. Got a few good bit laughs. I think he did talk about either his race and a little bit of his weight. So, but the crowd liked him. I could tell. So that was pretty fun. I would say. Okay, so. Let's see, Pedro did pretty well. I would say it was an 8.5. Victor Paz with his talking about the ethnicity and his weight. I would say that was probably an 8.4 out of 10. And then we got Rachel Lloyd. She talked about how she was recognized for being a drag queen and for athletic build, according to people in the audiences, and what they told her, like how they saw her in a drag show and then see her again headlining the La Jolla Cove here. Um, so, uh, so I think, with Rachel, she did get some good laughs about how she was mistaken for an athletically built person. Apparently, I guess ugly people shop at Target, but she wanted to reply to that by saying, like, who shops at Target and sees that there's a whole bunch of beautiful people? So that's a misconstrued idea that ugly people shop at Target. So that was funny. Rachel Lloyd, I would say she was an 8.4 out of 10. And then we have Melissa Weisman. She told her Korea joke. Talked about her fat joke. She did throw some new ones in there too. Overall, crowd liked her and her crowd work. So that was pretty fun. I would say that Melissa was probably an 8.5 out of 10 with the crowd. I did like her jokes because they always make me laugh. She really worked on them really hard. So then we have Kimball's Whom. She talked about how she had some snobby friends or neighbors or something that says that she plays pickleball and volunteers, and then she replies that she doesn't volunteer. Yeah, that was pretty fun. But overall, Kimball Soom, I think she was an 8.5 out of 10. And then we got Macy Isaacs. I've seen her before. Candy Pushers, Don't Tell Comedy in Hillcrest. She's really funny. She has this thing about the WNBA. If the name is the team name for the WNBA or is a name for, I guess, the Kardashian babies. So